Hi, welcome to the Gamesplainer. I'm Jeff the Gamesplainer, and today I'm gamesplaining Praga Caput Regni. So Praga Caput Regni is a 1 to 4 player game. It was released last year, 2020. I have only just got to it now. I do apologize for the length, but Australia and getting stuff is hard. So let's get straight into it. Praga Caput Regni is a game where you're really just using a small part of the board to choose one of 6 actions. I can't remember the exact number, but it's not many. Those actions, however, are on little tokens, so you have a choice of one of 2 when you choose one of those tokens. And those tokens are attached to a wheel that spins. And so the further around that wheel you can be, the more beneficial it is for you. The earlier in the wheel you're trying to go, it's going to potentially cost you some money to do the action. So what those actions are is gold and stone mining, so getting some resource in. That's 2 of the actions. 3 of the actions are gaining elements or hexes from an area of the board, and they either go onto the board, so in this like a village and city kind of area, and you're looking for surrounding the plazas that do stuff, and once they're surrounded, then those hexes will get paid out. Whoever has the most will get to do both things that are indicated on those plazas. Whoever has the least will just have to choose one of them. Or you're getting hexes that will upgrade a little board that you have next to you, or you're getting what they call walls, which go next to the elements on the board next to you. And those elements then, whenever a wall goes in, you get to do all the stuff that's touching the wall. So if you place it correctly, you're going to get to do 2 more things. One of the things down here is to build more walls. So it's possible to build a wall into that spot, get the thing and the wall, build another wall, get the thing and a wall, build another wall, get a wall. It's possible to actually do a whole bunch of that if you have enough resource to pay for it. And this is really one of the manipulation things to be really aware of, is that if you don't have enough resource, you can't do the thing. And so if you're wanting to do 3 walls, for example, you're going to have a heck of a lot of stone in order to build all of those walls. And so you'll get to a point where you have a wall piece that you wish to put down, but if you put it next to the wall bonus spot, you're not going to be able to build it because you don't have enough resource. So you need to put it somewhere else. The other thing is there's a bridge, so there's about 5 different spots along the bridge, and as you move your marker along that, you'll get the indicated resource, the indicated goods, or the indicated benefit. But one of those benefits is going to cost you an egg. And there's this weird thing of, I spend eggs to do really good stuff. There is actually historic evidence for why eggs were needed and necessary in the rulebook, and that's really good that that's there. But it's a little bit of a quirky thing, and I quite appreciate that. So you need to have eggs to do the stuff along the wall. If you don't have the eggs, that's fine. You just don't get the benefit of that element as you move along. Now, on top of all of that, there is these 2 buildings. If you watch my gameplay, you'll actually notice I pull the buildings out of the way. Of course, I keep knocking them over. And there's the basics of the buildings are actually on the board. But having the 3-dimensional buildings is actually, it's more fun. It looks better. I much prefer using it. But you need to use arches, so archways, not arches, archways to move along, to move up, should I say, to move up in those buildings. And each time you go up an actual level, there are 3 different levels, you need to pay some resources to do that movement, as well as the 2 arches. Whenever you put a tile down, some of those tiles have a indicator or a little picture of the cathedral or the other building. And whenever you put one of them down, you're moving further along in that particular building. The reason you want to move further along and move up is because those buildings, they actually score twice. You score the number of points for how far up the building you have gone. So the higher up you go, the more points they're worth. And then you are scoring how far along the building multiplied by the number of little blue or red chits that you've managed to gain through the game. You gain them by placing pieces and having those symbols matching up with other ones of those symbols. And so they're in different areas. And so what the game ends up doing is it's pushing you to do a lot of stuff over your turns. It's pushing you towards gaining or putting the hexes in that have those symbols next to other hexes that have those symbols. So you can gain a lot of those little chits. It's pushing you to throw in the hexes that have pictures of those two buildings so you can move your way along in those buildings. There is a rule that with the archers that you can only have 2 sitting in front of you. So if you have more than 2, you actually have to spend them. So the white archers are to move up levels within those buildings. There are also gold archers. The gold archers are used to have another go, basically to do something in your wheel. And this is a rule that has disappeared on me that I have not remembered when I've been playing. And in fact, I only noticed that rule about partway through the game's play. And so I'll put a note into the game's play to say, hey, make sure you do this, make sure you use these. But it's something that's very easily and very quickly forgotten. And I think that might be my only real issue with this game is there's so much going on. Like the essence of the game is just turn the cog and take a thing. You get to do whatever's in the space where you take the little marker from and do the action. That's fine. But there's so much extra stuff to think about with that it's very easily forgotten little minutiae rules like if you have more than 2 archers, you must use them by the end of your turn. Very easily forgotten, very easily overlooked when you're playing, when you're reading the rules. And so there's this whole forward back on, this is a really good game, but is there too much little stuff to be able to remember as you're playing? Now, it might just be that my memory isn't as good as it used to be. So a younger player who understands and remembers stuff easier will likely play this game better or remember those little elements. It might be that I need to have other people at the table who have played the game before, who have read the rules before, and so they can catch any of the forgotten detail. But there's a lot of potentially forgotten detail. The little element of get the thing that's on the wheel of where you take it from, that can happen at any time. The problem is that when I take a tile out, it's very quickly forgotten where I took it from. So if I don't get that straight away, I may forget that that's there. And sometimes I actually need to do what's on this in order to have the resource to do what is on the wheel. But then remembering that, there's those little details of memory it's a big factor in this game. I think if you struggle with memory of stuff or I need to do that still, or you struggle with having a way to remember, so maybe marking it, putting a little marker over there saying, okay, I've still got to do that, then you're probably going to forget things. In the game's play, one of the players wins by, I think it's almost 100 points. And I fear that, at least at the beginnings of the play, I fear that a lot of the points that he was gaining, that the other player wasn't gaining, were just from remembering which player was actually gaining. I may be wrong that I haven't done the edit yet to see if I've actually made mistakes there, but it feels like one of the players was remembering all the stuff and the other one was just kind of doing the actions and not necessarily remembering to get points where points were available to that player, or that player has been giving the other player points accidentally. I'm not sure. I will check the edit and I'll put little markers in if that has happened. But there's so much little minutiae stuff going on that it's very easily forgotten. And I think that you've just got to be aware of that coming in. I do think that this is a good game. Don't misunderstand me. I do think this is a good game. I really actually appreciate this and like this game a lot. And I think this will very quickly end up at the top of my top 10s whenever this one is actually being played. But I also fear that there's so much going on with it that it's a little bit harder to get to the table. that's actually my issue with a lot of the games I really like, is just the density of this game and the density of games that I like tends to sit a little bit above games that are easy to get to the table. And so I always struggle to get games I really, really enjoy playing to the table, to get those plays and get them into the top 10 lists and all that other stuff that goes on with it. I think this is a really wonderful game, a really well thought out game. There's a lot going on, as you've noticed, but if you can get your head around that, it's worthwhile because everything interconnects really, really well. There's a lot that can be done. You can focus on one thing and not do another thing, and that's absolutely fine. Finding your path through this game is really part of the game. So look, I think I'll leave it there. Please go ahead and watch my Gamesplay and Gamesplanation for Praga Caput Regni to see what you think of it, to see if it's a game that would sit well with you. If you have any comments or suggestions, please write them below. If you have any games that you would like to be gamesplained, please shoot me an email to thegamesplainer@gmail.com. Follow me on Instagram and Twitter @thegamesplainer to keep up to date with the games I'm playing. Subscribe to my videos to keep up to date with the games that I'm gamesplaining. And until next time, enjoy gaming.